I'm Andrew Patterson from interest.co.nz. Welcome to another in our Business Success series. Today I'm with Paul Stoddard, the founder and director of Business Lighting Solutions. Hi there, Paul.
Yeah, good morning, Andrew. It's a pleasure to be here.
So tell us a bit about where you got the idea for this business from, given that you come from a telco background.
Yes, I was head of research and venturing for Telecom New Zealand, and we were working with a number of power companies on wireless metering opportunities. And what became really apparent was that energy efficient appliances were in the future going to be something that was sought after, with energy in Australia and New Zealand, of course, becoming a real issue. From there, I met my now business partner, who's an expert in lighting. So while I have an entrepreneurial background, he brought the real intellectual grunt to enable us to develop a product for the Australian and the New Zealand market.
One assumes you had to do quite a fair bit of research in this area. So how did you kind of latch on to the idea of LED lighting?
Well, when we first decided to investigate this opportunity further, we thought it'd be a case of simply licensing some lights from Europe or China and importing them to New Zealand. But what became apparent very quickly was that the LED products on offer either weren't compliant with New Zealand and Australian electrical and safety standards. The quality of light was poor in terms of colour and colour and how the light was rendered, and also very importantly, the amount of light just wasn't comparable to a fluorescent tube. So we embarked on a 2-year R&D program to develop a lighting solution that addressed the safety issues, the quality of light issues, and the amount of light that was being produced. Now today we have a product that is comparable to a standard fluorescent tube, be it 2 foot, 4 foot or 5 foot in length.
But consuming significantly less energy.
Certainly. The rule of thumb is that we save between 50 and 60% of the energy. So what we're saying is that an LED will deliver the same amount of light and the same quality of light, but using only about 40% of the power. So the economics are compelling, particularly when you take into account maintenance. We have some customers who don't bulk relamp, they relamp on an as-required basis. So of course you have a call-out fee for an electrician that could be up to $60 to change a tube. So when you look at an LED that lasts 3 to 4 times the length of a fluorescent tube, you're also not only saving energy, but you're eliminating a significant maintenance overhead.
So this is really the commercial application of what's been taking place in residential, as everybody's been switching over to eco-friendly bulbs.
Yes, certainly. The likes of ECA are encouraging individuals and organisations to adopt energy efficient lighting. There are some good LED downlight products available to the residential market, likewise to the commercial market. However, our area of expertise and something we've focused on is developing products to replace fluorescent tubes. And those fluorescent tubes may be in the ceiling of your office. They could be T5s, which is a form of a fluorescent tube that is in a high bay fitting in a warehouse or an industrial application. So we have solutions for office, retail, medical, industrial and warehousing, all built around our marquee product, which is the EcoFluoro LED tube.
So just explain a bit about the business model, because this is an interesting concept. You run it virtually as a virtual business, don't you? So everything is kind of contracted in.
We've adopted a business model that enables us to position EcoFluoro LEDs at a price point that makes good economic sense. Now, the only way we could do that was to drive fixed costs out of our business, and so we have virtual teams. We have a virtual marketing communications team. We have a virtual team based in China where we manufacture the LEDs, where they come and oversee the production of our product. They also randomly sample it to an ISO standard to ensure quality assurance. We have all of our creative work, and as I say, PR is all outsourced, and in the virtual teams. And we have a very lean model, and as far as pricing is concerned, we're very, very competitive. And when you take into account the quality of the product, it really is compelling.
And how have you dealt with some of the opposition to LED systems? Because this hasn't been a straightforward switchover, has it? Where people say, well, we accept that we have to go from one technology to another.
Look, there are two aspects to that question. One, yes, there is competition in the market, and anyone can bring an LED tube or an LED product into the country. What we've really endeavoured to do is to set the bar very high. So we proactively educate both prospective and existing customers as to what constitutes a good, reliable product. And at the moment, our competitors don't measure up. But we're always looking to evolve our product because competition will come, and we're intent on staying ahead of the market. The other part to your question is how do our customers receive the product? Look, with any new technology, people can be circumspect, and after we developed the product, when we first took it to market, there was a lot of pilots undertaken, post-pilot interviews, case studies written on what we've done for different clients. And that really did slow the sales cycle down. But now with the 60 or 70 reference sites we have around the country, comprehensive case studies, people are more willing to embrace a new technology. And having said that, some of the professional services are still a little cautious. Some of the engineering and architectural firms are loath to recommend something new. They'd rather stay with the tried and true technology, which is always frustrating, but increasingly there are progressive organisations who see the merits of LED lighting from an economics point of view, which when we talk economics we're talking power saving and maintenance saving, and also from a sustainability point of view. Carbon credits are less of a topic of interest in New Zealand, but certainly in Australia that's a hot topic, and reducing a business's carbon footprint is an economic driver. And we believe that the same will apply in New Zealand in time. But the main drivers at the moment are purely economic, less so sustainability, but growing in importance.
And of course, the post-GFC environment plays well into that at a time when every business is looking to actually trim cost.
That's right. And, it's not a well-known fact that lighting can consume up to 40% of your energy bill. And so, with LED lights that use less than 50% of the power, it can be quite a significant saving. You can therefore reduce your power bill by 20 to 25%, which for any business driving 25% out of a cost centre, it's compelling.
You've done some changeovers for businesses like Air New Zealand, obviously, and these are 24/7 operations as well. So you kind of forget about that aspect as well. These are lights that are burning all the time.
That's right. We've sold in excess of 35,000 LED tubes into the New Zealand market. While there have been failures, we're talking in the numbers are 6 or 7 failures, and with any electrical product, there are invariably out-of-box issues, even with the robust quality assurance mechanisms that we have in place. But when you look at 6 failures out of 35,000 products in the market, some operating 24/7, it's bloody robust.
What have you learnt about the business and this particular business model, which is an interesting one because we are seeing a little bit more of it now as businesses look at running in a highly efficient manner? What learnings have you come across during that process?
There's no secret formula to business. You need to develop a great product. You need great customer service, and you need to retain the best people. And we've worked really hard on each of those fronts, and as a consequence, we're making inroads into the New Zealand market. We have a very blue chip pedigree of corporate customers, be it in New Zealand: Genesis Energy, Transpower, IAG, Turners and Growers. The list goes on, and these are large organisations that haven't leapt in blindly. They've completed their due diligence on both the product and also us as an organisation, and that they're ready to embrace what we have to offer.
And the value proposition is something that keeps changing, or do you find that at the end it's really all about the economics of it?
Look, it is economics. Really, at the end of the day, there is a high capital hurdle to adopt LED technology. So you need businesses that have a robust cash flow and are able to sit back and be objective and look at what the return on investment will be for the money that they invest in upgrading their lighting. So some organisations, LEDs aren't for them, depending on their financial position, but organisations that are seeking to be progressive in how they manage their cash flows and their operating expenses, see the return on investment. And for some customers, a DHB, for example, where the lights are burning 24/7, that ROI can approach 100%. For the average business that runs their lights 14 hours a day, that ROI is approaching 40 to 45%. So when you're talking ROIs of that nature, it's really something that is worth considering carefully.
What's been the most difficult aspect of running the business that you've encountered so far?
Look, when we first set the business up, the biggest challenge was to be able to have a conversation with clients. And
it's just getting in the door.
It's getting in the door. It's all about, before I can talk to someone about LED technology, because often the first question was, what does LED stand for? And you had to educate. So for the last 2 or 3 years, my role hasn't been to sell, it's been to educate, because unless the customers actually understand the economic proposition and technically how the product's going to perform, then you can't sell a product. So first and foremost, my role has been one of educator. That is slowly changing with the large installed customer base, the reference sites and the case studies. People can do their own due diligence on our company without me having to first meet them. And so, look, to answer your question, the big challenge was having people in a place where we could have a productive conversation. And as I say, to have a productive conversation, I first had to educate them.
How far along the adoption cycle are you at the moment?
Well, if you look at, we've probably just passed early adopter, and we're moving into the products becoming mainstream. So that's where it sits in the overall cycle.
And therefore, still plenty of business to be achieved.
Look, to upgrade the to upgrade fluorescent tubes to LED tubes in the New Zealand market, there's an investment of about $800 to $1 billion required. But if you look at the return on investment to the country as a whole, we conservatively estimate that they'll save the country as a whole will save between $350 and $500 million per annum. Now there are some assumptions in there in terms of what the average power price is and what the average duration the lights would operate. But whether it's $300 million or $400 million, it's a very significant payback for the country as a whole.
Have you found quality issues in the purchase process out of China?
That's a trap if you're not very, very careful. We set out at the outset to have end-to-end control over our supply chain. So we select every component that our LED tube is comprised of. We have engineers in the factory, our own engineers in the factory, overseeing assembly and verifying the components that are going into the product. Those same engineers undertake a random inspection of the product to an ISO standard. And that is absolutely necessary because I've seen and heard of horror stories where people will specify a product but get something quite different delivered to New Zealand. So that is an ongoing focus for our business, as is evolving the product and improving the overall efficacy. Whereas today we're saving 50% plus from an energy perspective as compared to a fluorescent tube. As the efficacy improves, we expect to see that increase to 60 or 70% power savings. And while we don't see the price of the LED tubes diminishing, we see the business case getting stronger as they become more efficient and the economics become more compelling.
So just finally, the future's looking bright, if you'll excuse the pun.
Well, Andrew, the future's looking very bright, and it's a good news story. People are driving costs out of their business. They're having a product that delivers comparable light to a fluorescent, so there's no trade-off. And in fact, there is also an inherent benefit in an LED light source because they don't flicker. A fluorescent tube, you may not know, but flickers at between 50 and 100 times a second. And at the end of the day, that can cause tired eyes, particularly if you're looking at a computer screen that's refreshing at a different rate. With an LED, direct current, no flicker, people describe the light as being calm, fresh, and very easy on their eyes.
And a lot of businesses actually have undertaken studies with staff to do this, don't they? You need to get the staff on board when you want to change the lighting.
Absolutely, and it's not uncommon for us to run pilots on larger installs and then to survey the staff before and after. And the survey results are quite outstanding. It never ceases to amaze me, how well received LED lights are.
So how big could you grow, do you think?
We are the incumbent in the market right now. Competition is growing and will come, but we do have a real jump in terms of the quality of product that we have. So how big could we get? Look, if we ended up with 20% of the overall market, we'd be very, very happy. We encourage competition because, as I say, I'm an educator first and foremost, but it's a tough job doing it by myself. So as competition does evolve and enters the market, I see it as only as a positive thing because it'll help appraise the market of the benefits. And we're confident that our product, for the reasons I've described, will stand up to competitive rigour and will do very well.
So Paul, obviously a virtual business that's growing pretty quickly, and I suppose your biggest challenge is potentially just keeping up with the demand as it evolves.
Certainly, scaling the business is important, and we need to do it right so we can continue delivering a first-rate product and first-rate service. Given our business model is based on a virtual model, we are able to scale it as we experience very strong growth in the New Zealand market, and for that matter now the Australian market.